thing.
Yeah.
What's the craziest story?
Oh, yeah.
Or
There you go.
The one story that,
Cheers.
out of all the time that you've been doing it, that you've been documenting, that whatever it is, whether it's something that's like really, really pulled on your heartstrings, really just like made you go, what the hell am I doing? Or whatever it is. What's your most memorable or your craziest story of rideshare?
I'll give you a positive. I'll give you a negative. I'll start with a negative. We can end on a positive.
There you go.
The negative, and I talk about both of these on my channel, but this is what always pops in my head. The negative, and again, going back to the people you meet. Exactly. I pull up to the main line is like the nicest part right outside of Philadelphia. It's Christmas time. It sounds like it seems like a holiday party, like a business holiday party that the CEO's hosting at her house because there's a valet parking situation at somebody's house. People are wearing dressed to the nines, right? This girl comes out. She's about in her 20s and she sits in the front seat, which to me usually means like, okay, they want to have a conversation. It's cool, right? Passes out right away the second we start driving. Halfway through the ride, it's like a 40-minute ride back to the city, and we're on the highway 76. And she wakes up in the middle of it, and she goes, "Oh my God, who are you? Where am I? Where are you taking me?"
Shit.
And she tried to open the door, and thank God it's like automatic locks when you start moving. So she's trying to open the door on the highway, and I start yelling at her. I'm like, "I'm your Uber driver. Look at your phone." And she's so hammered that she doesn't know what's going on. She starts to try to call her friends for help on FaceTime. And every time the friends pick up, I'm like, "I'm her Uber driver." And she was trying to be sneaky about it. I'm telling you, this girl is trash. So she thinks she's being sneaky about it. So whenever I call her out on the phone, she thinks that I caught her. So she hangs up. And that cycle happens like 3 times. Finally, she realizes I'm her Uber driver. And even when we got there, she was still pissed like it was my fault. Because, a rider's never in the wrong, especially a drunk rider. And I remember she got out and she said something like, "You need to learn your directions better." And she slammed the door. And I was like, what the hell? So that really tripped me out because at the time I didn't have a dash cam and I immediately ordered one after that. And, at the end of the day, I know I'm on the Uber app. So you have evidence of you're not doing something, but Lord knows what the girl could have said. And at the very least, I'm like, man, if she calls the cops, this is just not because the cops always are going to side with the girl in the nice dress as opposed to the Uber driver that's dressed like a bum with a beard, So that's the worst thing. Bought a dash camera. Don't have any worries anymore. There's still worries, but I have evidence now. The best thing that's ever happened. Oh man, I got 2 really good things. All right, we have time. Are you guys in a rush?
No, you're good. Yeah, no, we're not in a rush.
Cool. So this is a quick one. I'm driving this woman. She's sitting in the back. And she was like, she just bought dinner. She was leaving work. She just bought dinner. It was like a fried chicken platter. And we're driving, and there's a homeless person that comes up to the car. And she rolls the window down, and she gives her dinner to the homeless person. And I remember thinking, man, this lady, what a noob. She doesn't know the way the world works. That guy's just going to throw that food out. He just wanted money. He was posted up near, I knew the area. There was a liquor store near there. I'm like, this lady just gave her dinner away thinking that she was being sweet and she's an idiot, right? So we're driving a little, the light changes and we leave. And she said, I'll never forget this. She was like, I know that's not what he wanted, but it's what he needed. I really hope he eats that. And I was like, oh my God, here I am being this cynical know-it-all. And it's here, this lady knew exactly the same thing I did, but she went and did it anyway. And I try to apply that in any situation. Cause it's she knew the deal, but you can still be nice and you can still try to put that out there. So that always sticks with me. And I try to apply that. I don't always do a good job of it, but that woman's a much better person than I am.
I have a great idea. Hold on. I have a great idea for your 300,000 member giveaway for the Uber driver.
Yeah.
Bucket of KFC chicken. How about that?
Bucket of KFC chicken. There you go. I think they'll want the $300. Yeah. But no, going back to what we were talking about, that's why I was I kind of struggled with if the guy didn't want to be on camera. that kind of mindset of I was like, that woman would give it to him anyway. But then I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I'm not going to be able to afford to do this forever if I don't do so. It was a real, mind twister. But no, I think that's like, if everybody in the world had that woman's attitude, man, it'd be a much better place. And then my favorite story, I picked up a guy in West Philadelphia, actually in a neighborhood that my dad grew up in. And we were driving. He asked to sit in the front. And again, typically when people sit in the front, they want to have a good conversation. And sure enough, this guy did. And man, it was a 20-minute ride. And we just had a great conversation. He was a African-American immigrant. So like an African-American. And we talked about like all these things. This was in 2019. And we talked about all these things, policing, discrimination, being an immigrant, what it was like living in his country in Africa, how different it was. And it was just a great conversation. Fast forward to summer 2020. And as we all know, the issues that exploded. And I ended up sharing that video because it was like, I never knew if I was going to share this video. Sometimes we have these conversations. I was like, I don't know if it fits my channel. I don't want to put things out there if it like, whatever, but I thought it was very relevant and I'm glad I shared it because it resonated with a lot of people. Well, lo and behold, one day, I'm walking, this was wintertime. So a couple months go by and I'm walking out of my apartment to go to the post office and it was a snowy day and this guy's like stuck. And he's like in my apartment complex and he can't get his car out. So I, offered to help. And I was like, is your name Muhammad? And he was like, yeah. And he was like confused. Like, how do you know me? And I was like, it's me. You're like an idiot. I was like, I'm your Uber driver from 2 years ago, And he looked at me. He's like, okay, this is so weird. Like, how do you know me? Right. And, I explained, I was like, we did a video together. I ended up sharing it. People really like it. And he had never seen the video. So he was like, oh, share the video. So it turns out, this guy I gave a ride to, it was a year and a half ago at the time, ends up being my neighbor. And neither of us were living. I was living somewhere else. Like we both ended up moving there. And we just coincidentally crossed paths and like we're like friends now, like we go out, there's a bar near our apartment. We'll hang out sometimes. He keeps telling me he wants to play soccer. I do not play soccer. He played soccer in college, it turns out, but like, he's a really good friend. He's been back on the channel a couple times. And so like, that's kind of like my favorite thing with Uber and YouTube, where it's like this connection was made between strangers. And like the fact that like we like became friends, you know what I mean? It's just like, and there's a couple times like he'll need a ride somewhere and I'll give him one. Another time, like I borrowed his bike because I needed to go down the street. It's just like, it's just an amazing, like, that's just like, kind of like what a small world, and it's kind of like, he was such a positive guy and he was, willing to talk to me and he was willing to have the video shared. I don't share videos without people's permission. And it's like the kind of positivity and energy he put out into the world, like it's kind of what comes back. So that's another like thing, like what you put out is what you get. And shout out to Muhammad. And I always think about that, like, man, what a small world. And you never know who you're going to cross paths with, like he said that too, like he could have been a huge jerk to me. And then, if I recognized him stuck with the car, I probably would have pushed him out because I'd be like, he probably doesn't remember me. But, you put out what you want back in the world, I think.
100%.
All right. Thanks for watching. That short little clip was from our live stream, Show Me the Money Club with Sergio and myself, Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, turn on all notifications so you'll be notified when we go live, as well as all of our awesome content. Make sure to check out this video right here, which will take you to the entire live stream, or check out this video right there. All right, drive smart, everyone.